Most of the time in our lives, we are the obstacle, to whatever we want to achieve in our lives. And once you remove yourself as the obstacle of something that seems to be in the flow anyways, then the flow can happen. And once you realize it is not either or, it can happen at the same time, then it flows differently and you get more relaxed.
I love that because that taps into like the imposter syndrome, not believing in yourself and not believing that you're good enough, because we're our own worst enemy sometimes.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I would say that like. What if the no you feared was actually a nudge towards something more lasting? Andre Danke was just 17 when a friend opened the door to modeling, a door that led to over 3 decades as a world-traveling, high-fashion supermodel. But it wasn't just looks that kept him in the game. It was his discipline, his mindset, his ability to hear no and keep showing up with kindness, consistency, and confidence. Now a wellness coach and mentor, Andre is paying it forward, guiding others towards self-acceptance, resilience, and staying open to unexpected turns. If you've ever chased a dream or questioned your place in life, Andre's story is proof that beauty can fade, but presence, kindness, and clarity never go out of style. Here on Navigating No. Everyone, I am so excited to welcome my friend and mentor, Andre Danke, a legendary German supermodel with over 3 decades in the industry. I've had the privilege of knowing him as a mentor for over the past 20 years, and we've had several of the same agencies, but we have worked together on several occasions as well. And so, Andre, thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, when I asked you to be on, I was so excited because I've looked up to you for years, and I was trying to think of like the first time that I met you on a set for a commercial or for a job, and I couldn't remember, but I do remember being on the Surrogates cast when we did that Hollywood movie, and you and I sat back, and during our breaks, you and I would catch up, and I would just ask you all of these questions about how do I become a supermodel, because you are the epitome of what a supermodel is, because you've worked with the top brands and you've had such a long career. And I would love for you to kind of dive into how you got into modeling and where you about and like where you are now.
Yeah. Well, the modeling it's very funny because I started modeling when I was, I think, 17. I was still in high school, and I was introduced to my first agency by a friend of mine who said, you would be good for modeling, so you want to join? And I said, yeah, of course, let's go. And so I was, while others, other students, they were in high school and, doing homework and whatever they did in the afternoon, I was already doing my first shows when I was, 17, 18. And that's how everything started. It was like the late 80s, when, there was still a lot of shows going on. And at that point, my mom wasn't very fond of the idea of me being a model because she said, that has no future. And, it's just very short term. And I said, yes, so what? I'm just going to do it. And funny enough, that's, what I keep telling my mom even today, after 3 decades, I'm still in the industry, still doing it.
Yeah.
Of course, I did it, sometimes full-time, sometimes part-time. I did my studies, I did my university. I did everything else as well. But I mean, this job has been actually with me for 30 plus years. And I'm very, very grateful that I can still do it. And so it's very interesting.
Well, it's interesting because like you, I've done it for over 20 years, and I still have that ability. We still do it. And I feel blessed that we've been given that opportunity. But at the same time, there are times, and it's an ebb and flow industry, where sometimes you get booked a lot and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you snag a national commercial and sometimes you don't. You work for a local commercial. And so it is definitely ebb and flow. But what did you know right away that your agent, like when you were getting into the industry, were people telling you and were you believing them that you could make a long career out of this?
Actually, that was never a topic when I started. They were just like, yeah, just do it, and let's, we're going to represent you. and let's try it. That's basically it. And I actually never thought about it as a long-term job. I always thought, I do it as long as I can, as they want to book me, and as I work. And apparently it's still going on, and so it's nothing that was planned in a way that I want to be there when I'm also in my 50s. It's something that just happened by keeping up.
Well, talk to me about that a little bit, because people always say, they're like, well, why do you look the way you do? And part of it, it's almost like I'm a carny at the carnival, because it's my job to stay in shape. It's my job to eat well. It's my job to stay flexible and to keep the face. Because I always tell people, like, I wouldn't go to a dentist without teeth, right? So why would they hire me if I didn't look the part? And so what did you start doing that gave you this long career and that's still going?
It is a discipline that you have to implement within yourself, but then also it has a lot to do with lifestyle. If you are committed to a healthy lifestyle, a conscious lifestyle, where you always have in mind a healthy body, then you will never get out of shape. And so that is something that is like, mandatory for this industry, I think. And it is in certain, respects, it's a discipline that you have to implement within yourself. But it is more like a relationship that you establish with yourself that keeps you going on in the industry. You have to become very, very stable within. That's, at least my perspective on it. The more stable I am, the more disciplined I am, the less dependent I am on my circumstances, the better I can also, proceed in the industry. And that's something that, looking back, brought me where I am today.
Well, and I think you're hitting into that, where it's like the discipline comes where it almost keeps you in check, because I've always told myself, like, I want to be able to do, if one of my agents calls me, whether that's in Europe or in South Africa, and they say, hey, Blue, we need you to do a swim shoot. If I can't take my shirt off and have the abs that I want to have, then I'm missing out on that. So it always kept me in check. Like, I had to always stay at a certain level that I was happy with. Like, I could eat Oreo cookies. I love Oreos, right? But at the same time, it's like, I knew what I had to stay a certain level so I could take that shirt off on that one call that I got from a Japanese agent or something like that.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, that's something that you always, have to keep in mind when you're in the industry. But then again, if you are committed to a very healthy lifestyle because you feel better when you proceed on this, path, then it is easier, because then, I mean, that is the result of that, right? Instead of being like, I have to, which is kind of feeling, you're imprisoned by the idea that I have to. It's more like, okay, I feel better, so I do it because I feel better, and then the result is that I'm keeping in shape. It's a different perspective, and then you have less stress also about your body size and everything. It's just and that's something that I learned over the last 2 decades with the yoga and the dharmic path that I'm following. It's being good to yourself, not pushing you too much, and listening to your own body and to your own inner voice that tells you what is good for you and what's not.
Well, and that's both mental and physical, right?
Totally,
and I think you're right. Like the reward is to have a healthy lifestyle, and for me to be able to play with my kids still. I'm 48 years old and I'm still running around on the jungle gyms and playing with them and still work out, and I can get out in the ocean, swim. And it's like the ability to do that is as a result of all of the choices and the lifestyle that I had, that were the discipline based off of my martial arts and then modeling and keeping my agent, keeping on me. I want to tap into like when you first got into the industry, rejection is a huge part of our industry.
Yep.
And so when you first got in, what was that like? Did you all of a sudden start landing campaigns? Were agents like begging all over you for you to join them, or were you having to take those no's and that rejection and learn how to grow and manipulate or pivot around that?
Yeah. I mean, thank you for bringing that up, because, when I saw that, sign behind you, navigating no, I mean, that's basically the modeling industry in a nutshell. It's you are confronted with so many no's in that industry that it's not even funny, and that is something that you have to learn to live with. It's nothing personal. Never take a no personally. It's something that I learned over the years, because otherwise it's going to drive you crazy, and it's gonna do something with your psyche that is not very good for you. It is, when you are very self-conscious, this rejection lets you grow. Every no is basically only an invitation to become better, or to see a chance that something better will come up, and something better is in place for that time when that job was supposed to happen. Also, basically just believing more and more that I am not the doer. There is a force, there is a universal consciousness that is guiding me, and maybe that has something better in mind. That's all something that you learn when you're conscious.
I was going to say, I love that, because you're right. Like if I don't get this Toyota national commercial, right? Sometimes that can be a blessing in disguise, because it might not even be a national commercial. It could be a local Toyota commercial that I get, or I don't get. I'm told no, I'm rejected, and I'm like, darn it, that sucks, and I'm so mad because that was a number of dollars. But then all of a sudden, 3 months down the road, my agency says, hey, there is a national Toyota commercial. There's a national Ford commercial. Have you done a car commercial in the last year? I'm like, no, I haven't, because I got rejected the other day.
Exactly.
Right? Then you land that one. It's just in the pipeline, and it's just not taking it personal and kicking it down and just staying with it time and time again, because you're eventually going to get to a yes.
Yeah. And this industry kind of forces you to be trusting the universe all the time. You have to trust in the universe. You have to trust in, God, whoever believes in God, that something good is going to happen, and regardless. And if you're always like nervous about the next job, and you get a nervous breakdown because you didn't get it, then that is going to throw you off. It's nothing. It's not going to be adding much to your health, and also to your overall projection. Modeling has a lot to do with a stable projection of the mind. And the more stable you are in that projection.
And that comes across on the camera too.
Yeah,
the director, the photographer can see that and say, Andre, no, like focus somewhere else. Put intent behind this in a different way. And if you're not mentally prepared on screen or in front of the camera, it can hurt too.
Yeah, you're right. So it has, there is a lot of no's in the industry. But
what was one of your biggest no's that you got? The one that hurt the most, maybe.
That hurt the most?
Yeah, in the industry, in the modeling industry.
In the model industry, there were a few times that I really was very close to, get booked for an international campaign. And that really did hurt. Also, I was, basically on option so many times for men's health cover.
Yeah.
And I never made it.
Oh my God. Well, just for the listener, option means like there's a few people on the table in front of, like, let's say the director or the photographer or the magazine that they're deciding. And it's not a no yet, but they're juggling back and forth, and you're an option. And that option can take you up to like the very last second where you don't know.
Yes.
And then you're either released or you're booked and confirmed.
Yeah. That's it's especially painful if you know that the short list is only like 2 or 3 people. And then you're on until the last day before the shoot. And then you get rejected then.
Yes. I mean, and I have been there many times before as well. And Lululemon was one of those campaigns that it was between me and another guy, and it was the international campaign, and I lost it like that. But at the same time, it set me up for other things, right? But it was really hard for me to see the guy on Lulu commercials and campaigns. I was like, that should have been me.
Yeah. But then again, all these no's, they make you very appreciative of when something gets through. Last year, out of the blue, I booked this big Lexus campaign, and we were shooting in Kazakhstan for a week. And that came out of the blue, and I didn't even have to go to a casting. I didn't even have to submit like a video. I didn't have to do anything. It came through my agency. And, it looked like one of those options where anything can happen. And, all of a sudden I received this email, you're booked. And I'm like, no way. And then you celebrate because, it's like so many no's, they make you, appreciate the booking so much more, and then you go into
especially a direct book. That's where you don't have to cast, you don't have to do an interview process. The direct book is just like sweet.
Yeah. And then, you go into, I'm a very grateful person. I do my gratitude, I give gratitude every day to, things that happen, small or big. But then, in that moment, you become really humble and really grateful, that this came through. And then you appreciate the whole thing, the journey, the team, this incredible location even more so. You don't take it for granted.
No, and you appreciate how lucky you are the way that you do, and the work that you've done, and all the relationship building that you've done. And so I would love to tap into that really quick, because in our industry, I have personally found that it's about relationships. It's not just the transaction of, Blue gets hired. It's about the relationships with the photographer, with the stylist, with the makeup people, with the craft service people, with other models. What have you found that has worked really well with you relationship-wise with your agents or with clients?
Well, I think kindness is the key. If you just be kind, to whoever you work with in the industry. It doesn't matter what job they do. Just be kind to people. Just be human. And they always will remember you. If you are kind, everyone will remember you. And that is very helpful because people, they remember you 10 years, easily if you have been kind to them on a job. I've been to jobs where I didn't meet that person in 10 years. And they came up to me and they said, you know what? I remember you. And I said, oh, yeah, I remember your face. And I know what you said to me, and you were very kind. And I was like, oh, that's nice. So, and that is how the network works, and you're totally right.
I'm a prime example of that. So you and I have had several conversations and sitting back, and I could brainstorm with you about how to be a better model, what one of the big things for me was expanding or scaling my professional portfolio, right? Like having agencies outside of the Seattle area or outside of LA or Chicago, and then New York, and then to go into Europe and go into Dubai. And you were so kind with your time that it was like you were a big brother to me. And you might not have even known that, but I looked up to you and I was like, that guy is done what I want to do, and he has what I want, and I want to ask him how he did it. And you were willing to be kind enough to give me so many secrets and nuggets and things. And I've appreciated that. And it obviously worked, Andre, because I've done it for 25 years.
Wow. Thank you for sharing this. I'm getting goosebumps now, with what you have said. And yeah, that became my second profession. I'm just, mentoring people, I'm coaching people to get into their true self and the best version of themselves. And this is the biggest to me. This gives me the biggest satisfaction of all, everything I'm doing. Yes, in front of the camera is nice, it is a job. Let's be clear. But to help someone, to do the next step in their lives, that has more meaning to me than being in front of the camera and getting a big campaign. And that is something that you can do regardless of what you do. If you're a model, if you are a waiter, if you are, a bar tenant, if you are tender, if you are, a clerk, whatever, in any job, you can be kind, you can be nice, and you can support people, because that is something that will give you a lot of satisfaction, in the end.
Well, and you're tapping into something where it's being kind to everybody, and actually giving back, because that reward, especially like with my kids, to be able to pour all of my knowledge into them, but then to see our friends and how powerful your network can be, and how people, if you're willing to ask for help, they do that.
Yeah.
And because none of us can do it alone. And how awesome does it feel to know that you can make a difference to somebody else's life? You can make an impact. You can be influential to them. And I don't mean influence like your Instagram account, which has an obscene number, but it's the amount of reach that you can actually do and actually reach out and touch someone.
Yeah.
And it's so valuable. And I think that I think part of the problem is people maybe don't believe that they have anything to share or to give. And I think that we all need to know that we're all valuable, and that we all have stories and knowledge and experience that can help somebody else. Somebody else can learn from you.
Yep.
And if they ask you, tell them, like, explain. It feels so great.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone, as you just said, everyone has a unique talent, something that only you can do, and if it's only baking a super delicious cake, but share this cake with, your community, whatever, and just share whatever you have. It doesn't have to be like always a big thing and a big story, look, for something that only you can do. And everyone has a very unique talent, and that is the beauty. That is the beauty of life, and to be able to help people to find their specific talent is a blessing,
Well, and that you're hitting on a coach or a mentor or an instructor or some like person that can help guide that person. And the reason I am who I am today is because of people like you, people who I've wanted to be like, and reaching out and asking them. And it's like, I am who I am today because of all the people that have shaped me and all these little moments in time, and that the rejections that I've encountered, I'm like, man, that makes me stronger, but I'm not going to give up. I'm going to continue on.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn that in the modeling industry, and you might have your own stories on this, but I've been told so many times by agents or directors that you have a lazy left eye, or your hair's too long, or you look too wide.
Yeah.
And it's these little things that if I let them compliment me, they push me down in the hole, and I start to dwell on it and get mad and resentful, and I go to the dark side, right?
Yeah.
Or I can take them and say, okay, my left eye is lazy. Well, when I look into the camera, I'm going to have to lift it up a little bit. If I'm too wide on camera, I'm going to lean a little bit to the left. If I if I go left side, right side, I can manipulate the clothes to make me look like the way that they want me to look.
Yeah.
And so hearing these rejections are actually making me a better model in the end, because I'm willing to listen and I'm willing to solve the problem or change. And I am sure you've come across that.
Yeah. It's a very good point. Of course, you can do some alterations on the outside, whatever you can do. If there is some criticism that is justified, then of course you can always grow. But then again, never let it touch your inner peace, your inner
Yeah.
happiness. That is something that is so valuable. Also, whether you are in the industry or not, whatever people tell you, never take it personally. They are always projecting from their perspective, and never take it as your perspective, and that is something that I learned through the industry very well, of course, with, other means and, teachings that I was following that gave me the clues to, look at certain points. But in the end, because this industry is very, very fast, there's a lot of decisions going on every week. You can actually implement it more easily because every week you have a chance, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it goes fast also. Like, our careers can end quickly.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you don't take care of yourself, if you're the bad boy and you smoke, there's going to be repercussions for that, but your teeth are going to look a certain way.
Yep.
If you don't take care of yourself, if you don't show up on time, if you don't treat people with kindness, because you never know when or where you're going to meet somebody on set that could be a decision maker and you had no idea.
Yep.
The craft service person could be the sister of the main director or the planner, and you speak badly to them and they're like, don't hire this guy. Right? And so you can only do what you can control.
Yep.
Because ideally in the end, it's up to them. Right? It's their final decision. It's not up to you. You can show up your best ability, and I can manipulate my eye, or I can, make sure that I wear the right clothes that make me look good. But in the end, it's up to their decision. And once they make that decision, it's up to them.
Yep.
And it's out of my control, and I cannot take that personally.
Exactly.
When you talk about men's health, like, that was always a goal of mine too. And I use this as an excuse of not landing the men's health, is when they started going with only pro athletes and actors.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't ever have to worry about landing it, because now it's only actors.
Yeah. That's
but
right.
you are a supermodel. Like, you have worked with some of the most amazing brands. Like, do you have a favorite story, a favorite modeling job that you ever did that just you do feel blessed and lucky to have gotten?
Yeah. I mean, there's basically most of the jobs, are very, very, I feel very blessed to do that, unless you are in a studio doing e-com for a day, which is just for the money. But usually, I mean...
Oh, I'm laughing because, as our audience may not know, that e-com is basically where, if you, for example, shoot for Amazon for a day, they might have 120 looks that you have to do, and it is just turnkey table. It's just like boom, 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 left, right, left, right, left, right. And then you're on your feet all day on concrete, and that's all it is.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, that is work. But other than that, there have been so many amazing trips, that I was blessed to do, especially, that the one that I mentioned just, a few minutes ago, when I was booked for the Lexus campaign in Kazakhstan. I mean, that was one of the most amazing jobs ever. They flew me into Kazakhstan. I've never been to Kazakhstan. I didn't know what to expect. And then we went into the desert in the early morning. There was nothing, and it was just so beautiful. We had to leave by 4:30 in the morning because, of course, they wanted to catch the sunrise. And so when we got there at 6 o'clock in the morning, everything was already prepared. We had the most amazing catering in Kazakhstan. They asked me for, food preferences, and I was like, yes, right. Yeah. I go to Kazakhstan. I mean, I will tell them, but I mean, I'm not very positive if that is going to happen. But then in the morning, they served me the most amazing breakfast in the middle of the desert. And, the entire team was so wonderful, so professional. And I didn't expect that, to be honest with you. I didn't expect that because, the only the client, the ad agency, and, the photographer and the models were flown in. Other than that, the whole production team, they were from
Local.
Kazakhstan. They were local.
Yeah.
And we were like, I think 35, 40 people on set. And I mean, everything worked so smoothly. They were so kind, and they did everything they could just to, keep you happy. And we actually, one day we drove just, to get from one location to the other. It took us, I think, 7 hours to get there because the country is huge. I mean, it's the sixth largest country in the world, and it only has like 20 million people living there. And, from that 20, I think 18, 19 million, they live in the big cities. So once you get out of the city, there is literally nothing.
Wow. Yeah.
Just beautiful nature. And it was just, really jaw-dropping. Yeah.
Well, and I think part of what you're saying is it's the memories that you get, right?
Yeah.
And they are so memorable because they're so unique or so different. And being open to all of that is one of the most amazing things about the opportunities that we have, whether that's on location or travel or the people that we meet. And I feel blessed, honestly, with the experiences that I have. And I've always looked at it as a side job because I, unlike you, did not become the supermodel, but it's always been something that I've been able to do for a long time and have fun with it. And it's just propelled my life because of all of those experiences and those memories that I have had. And it's helped make me who I am, but it's just so many of these memories that I can take with me. Yeah. And it's interesting when people say things like that. They're like, well, what was your favorite modeling job? There's so many because they're so unique and they're so different. But I love when you can come together and you do get to reunite with people that you've worked out in the past, or maybe for you, speaking German and working for a German client is just as cool if you're in the United States, but you're able to speak German, and that maybe stands out for you or helps set you apart for somebody else. Mm-hmm. Is there something that you've done that you would tell like an aspiring model, for example, like how to leverage your differences and to leverage your gifts in order to become a supermodel? Like, is there something that you have found that younger people who want to get into the modeling industry should do that you've found have benefited you?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny that you're asking this question because I am mentoring a very young guy. He's just 16 and his mother actually approached me and asked me, what can I do? I mean, people are, contacting him because he's a good-looking guy, and they tell him, why don't you model? So tell me what to do. And I send him, maybe you have heard the name Maurizio Montani in Italy. He has been in the industry for also like 40 years, I think. Mm-hmm. And he's still one of the best photographers to do a photo test with. And so I send him there. And now I'm seeing all the pictures on Instagram, and it's amazing. He got a full portfolio. He got I don't know 20 plus shots. All looking great. And now I think the doors are open. And this is one of the first things you should do. Before contacting an agency. You have to invest some money into good pictures, find good photographers. Don't be, cheap on testing and on, finding photographers. Just, take some money, invest it in your career, and then, go to the agencies. And of course, you need the personality, of course. It's nothing, the looks won't get you anywhere. It's also about your personality. People have to remember you, and they don't necessarily remember you by your look because there's a lot of good-looking people. It's more, the energy that you, or the feeling that you give them, that will stick with them. If you're a bad guy and good-looking, I mean, maybe you can work a year or two, but then they are like, no. He's awkward. No, I'm not.
Yeah, or he's hard to work with, exactly. Or he wasn't early, and he would sit down and wrinkle the clothes, and you just have that bad taste in your mouth. But I love that you say that because it and that goes for any industry. The ability to invest in yourself, hopes that you're going to get a reward or you're going to return investment is a scary, scary thing sometimes. And I remember when I was told, you have to pay for a portfolio book, and you have to pay, I'm going to say $700 at the time to get your first looks. That's a lot of money to a teenager or to somebody in the early 20s. It really is, in hopes that picture can be good enough to get in front of a director or a photographer to book you for something. And it's that chicken and egg thing. But if you believe in yourself, and this is what I found, if you believe in yourself and you know that it's worth it because I've done my due diligence and I've found a good photographer and it's not cheesy and I've invested enough with the clothes that will look well, it will pay off in the end, because really you only need one job to pay for that. And that can last you 2 to 3 years on that, whether you get a card or not.
Yeah. And that is one of the prerequisites, to stay in the industry. Even now, I'm doing like at least 3 tests a year. 3 a year to keep.
No wonder you still look great. You keep testing.
Yeah, I mean, chicken and egg, right?
Yes. Oh my God, I love it. Well, you're a stud. And I will tell you, I want to tell you a story because you talk about your looks and being a good looking guy, and it can only take you so far. A friend of mine was in Seattle and he was dating someone online, and he was so excited to meet this person, and he would talk about him all the time. And he was like, I'm so excited because I finally get to meet him. And I'm like, okay, well, do you have a picture of him? And he goes, yes, here, and I'm going to go meet him this weekend. And he showed me a picture, and it was a picture of you.
Oh my God.
That is not that guy. You've been catfished, and that is my friend Andre, and he lives in Germany. Like, that is not him. I am sorry. So just as a heads up, people are using your pictures because you're such a good looking guy.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've heard that, already twice, that there's fake accounts going on, but I mean, what can you do? Pictures are available.
Be flattered. You have to be flattered, and you're available. That's right. You're married, so we can't do that.
Exactly.
So awesome. Yeah. I love that. Well, what is it that you're doing now? Like, how can people find out more about you and what you're doing now? Because you still model, but you also have inside, you're following more passion and you're going after other things.
Yeah. I mean, I'm over the last 15, 18 years, I have been teaching a lot of yoga retreats. I'm a yoga teacher. I'm a meditation teacher. Also, over the years, I became a coach and a mentor. I'm mentoring people when they want to get into their excellence. That's what I'm doing. If they are tired of what they are doing, if they feel they could grow, in some respect or another in their lives. And that applies to, all directions. Right? But, basically I'm coming from a spiritual background, from a dharmic background, where I am trying to help people to get into a higher consciousness. Higher consciousness to, see their stories clearly and how they can change their story, not only change their story, but also let go of their story to make room for something else, and that is a very interesting journey for a lot of people,
Well, and I'm assuming it's difficult to do, but you're also... You have a lot of experience. You've done it for almost 2 decades.
Yeah.
And was that a hard pivot for you to go from being this supermodel to all of a sudden getting into yoga and becoming a coach? Or was that an easy transition because you already are kind? You've already been a natural mentor. You were that to me. Was it an easy transition for you?
Yes, it was. Because, it kind of happened on the sideline. I was never pressured to make money with yoga and meditation. That is the blessing of being in the modeling industry, because you can make a lot of money in short time. So you have time to do something else where you are not pressured to make money, that needs to pay your rent next month. So that pressure was off. And so organically that could grow over the years. And so that's how there is something that was blossoming while I was doing still my other job.
Sure.
But that was not only blossoming on the outside, but also within me, because everything that you teach, it has an effect on you, and you are growing with every coaching as well.
Yes. Well, it's the podcasting, right? Like I'm interviewing friends, I'm interviewing high achievers, I'm interviewing, and it's just making me a better person. I'm learning so much. I'm having such a good time. And I've completely pivoted from one career to another. But it's like I'm enjoying that journey and I'm enjoying that career change, but I'm also able to dabble back and forth because I have the experience. I can always model. I can always be a public speaker. I can always write another book, which I'm writing, Navigating No. So it's like the ability to go back because it's a love or it's a passion, and I'm finding fulfillment within that, or purpose, or my why, I'm in Sinek would say. And it's like, I love that feeling because I can now, I can take the stress off of feeling like all the walls are closing in on me, and I can take my time and make smart choices and be ready and prepared when it comes time. And it sounds that's exactly what you did.
Yeah. And over the time, the either and or became less. It doesn't have to be either or. You don't have to decide on one of them.
Yeah.
It can just happen simultaneously. It can happen both at the same time, and both industries actually benefit from each other, and it's very interesting to see that. And once you allow that process, it's also something that needs to shift within you. Most of the time in our lives, we are the obstacle, to whatever we want to achieve in our lives. And once you remove yourself as the obstacle of something that seems to be in the flow anyways, then the flow can happen. And once you realize it is not either or, it can happen at the same time, then it flows differently and you get more relaxed.
Well, I love that because that taps into like the imposter syndrome, not believing in yourself and not believing that you're good enough, because we're our own worst enemy sometimes. Most of the time, I would say that like we're the ones that put the pressure on ourselves. We're the ones that are afraid of failing at something, or afraid of not getting that modeling job or not getting that job. And we put all this pressure on ourselves, and we are our own barrier. And so to be able to remove that and move forward with that flow is golden. And I love that. That's perfect.
Absolutely. And the less you care, the less you care, not in terms of being careless, it's more like the less you are concerned whether you are getting something or not. And the less you are actually making your inner peace and your happiness depending on something that you want to achieve, the more likely it is that, good things will come into your life. Let me tell you a story that I recently actually experienced. My wife, she has been telling me for a few years now, you have been talking my Insta account that, there's quite a few followers already.
Yeah.
And she has been telling me, you could do some influencing work there. You could, become an influencer. And I'm like, yeah, right. And I wasn't believing in, that there can be money in that industry. I was just like, I don't think that, this is.
Yeah.
So this summer, I received an email from a content agency in Berlin contacting me for a cosmetic campaign for men's cosmetic product that was introduced to the market, upscale. And they said, we found you and your Insta account, and we would like to work with you. Would you consider that? And I said, yeah, why not? And they said, yeah, can you send us an offer? And I didn't believe in it, and I didn't care. I said, okay, they get an offer. Right. They sent me exactly what they wanted. And, I was, collaborating with ChatGPT. He told me something about the industry and all that kind of stuff. So because I didn't have a clue, right? So, I put an offer together.
These are the true secrets of a model.
Yeah, so I put an offer together and I just sent it out to the agency.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect anything, And my offer was, from my perspective, was high. But I said, if they want to work with me, they either take it or leave it.
Either or.
And I totally forgot about it. I sent it out, I left it up to the universe. And just a few days after that, they sent me an email. Yes, we accept your offer. When can we start? And I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. And this is how it works. And this is, once you get out of this dependency on that things need to go that way, then things can move, for you. You're not going after things. And that is also something that, with all the years in the industry, becoming more wise, more relaxed, this is something, I can only suggest to, everyone, becoming more relaxed with, whatever you send out. Yes, it's good to project. It's good to have an idea. It's good to have a goal, but then also to let go again of, this almost being obsessed with, I need to get that, otherwise I'm not worth it, right? So, and that is something that is the biggest blessing probably. If you manage this in your life, it's incredible what that can give to you.
Well, and I agree with that, honestly. If I was to ask you, what is the one main thing that you would maybe tell your past self, a younger Andre, when you were first getting into the industry, what would you tell yourself to not think like that and to move forward with that confidence and not let yourself be that one barrier that blocks you? What would that thing be?
Well, that would be exactly what I just said. Just be more conscious. Never take anything personal. Never. And also just be more relaxed on, the outcome. If it comes to you, it's good. If it doesn't, it's also good. It's not, it should not make you feel bad if you are not getting it. It's because once you're getting to that easiness, that easiness within, things can flow. Running after things will never make you happy. Just being open to receive will make you happy. And
I love that.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
And that's a perspective change, and that takes work, and it takes a lot.
Yeah.
I know that's one of the things that you work with now. So where can people find out more about your coaching and your mentoring? And then what is your Instagram account so that we can keep adding numbers to that?
My Insta is Andre Danke, one word, AndreDanke. And my coaching and yoga events you can find on satravi.de. Satravi is my spiritual name, Satravi, and satravi.de. And you can book coachings, events, retreats. Most likely there will be also events going on in South Africa in the winter. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's see what's gonna happen.
Just wanting to make a change and move down there for a little bit of time for 6 months.
Yep. And maybe longer. Who knows? Maybe we're on and off. Have you ever been there?
I have been to South Africa. I've gone to Cape Town and Joburg, and I've modeled there as well. So, and you're Deutsche. You're like, that's easy for you. That's your market, right? Like, that's awesome. Yeah. And I think that the words of wisdom coming from you, and then you being open to helping others is so beneficial. And I would advise everybody to check you out. And if you can, reach out to Andre, because I know that you do. You do reply back to those comments, and you've just been this great guiding light to me, Andre, and I look forward to seeing you again in person. And you've just been so helpful to me, and I am so grateful and thankful to have you in my life, Andre. Thank you very, very much, and thank you for being a part of this today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me, for letting me be in this space and sharing with you. It's a privilege and an honor. And yeah, hopefully we are going to see each other soon in person. Would be fantastic. I think
it would. Maybe you could be the dad and I could be the son in a campaign.
Yeah, that's right. Let's see.
I love you, Andre. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you again, okay?
Yes, me too. Thank you for having me, and all the best.
All right.
Many, many blessings. Okay, bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Navigating No. If this episode brings you value or you know someone who could benefit from it, the best way to support the show is by sharing and subscribing. It's completely free and helps us reach more people. And if you have any questions, feedback, or guests you'd like me to interview, drop a comment while you're there. I'd love to hear from you. And most importantly, thank you for tuning in. And let's continue sharing optimism and positivity.